Welcome to Beaver, Utah. This is a little bit of a different video than what I typically do, but there's a few little tests here that I'm doing. First, this is a road trip video with the Tesla Model 3. I've always wanted to make one of these. I have yet to been able to do it. This is the first time I'm finally doing it because I'm going on a huge road trip. But the second part of it is that I'm using the Tesla full self-driving beta for this road trip. You know, Elon Musk and Tesla has always said that the dream or the goal is to be able to summon your car from, let's say, New York, and you are in San Francisco. The car comes, picks you up, and takes you all the way back without you having to do anything. We're not quite there yet, but I wanted to see how close we are to that. Now, I'm not going across the United States. I am going from here in Utah all the way to California, and then we're gonna make that loop and go around the top side through Nevada and everything. So it's not quite across the country, but it's pretty close. It's a couple thousand miles, or at least like 1,500 miles. So it's a long ways, but the goal is to use full self-driving the entire way, at least as much as I can. So obviously when I come into a parking lot like this, full self-driving is not gonna work, but as soon as I leave the parking lot and as soon as it lets me use Autopilot, I'm gonna turn it on and then go. Now, that being said, there are some points where I know there are gonna be some issues with this method. So I'm not expecting to get there all the way, but we're gonna try. So here is the setup that I am using for this trip, and what I really use for a lot of road trips. The only difference now is that this is an iPad mini. So it's using these clips that are 3D printed. My friend Ralph actually gave these to me. I think these have slight manufacturer defects to them, so they sent him a new pair and he gave me these. But they seem to work fine. But they're just little clips. They clip into the center console, and then it can hold a tablet, specifically an iPad. Now, I was using an 11-inch iPad before this, but now that the iPad mini is out, this is perfect because it really fits perfectly in the center console without sticking out at all. And then I have the main screen, which I use for navigation and all that kind of stuff. And then I can use this for media. I can use Apple Music here and kind of DJ and see everything that's going on. I can also use, let me join hotspot real quick. I haven't turned on my 5G on this iPad yet, but then I can also use Waze, which is great because then I can get police notifications if there's anything on the road that I need to be aware of. So I can use the great navigation here to route for all the supercharging and use this for knowing what traffic conditions are and what's going on there in real time. So it's a great dual view, and it's right here. My hand just kind of sits here and I can easily touch it without too much distraction. This is a cool setup. It's great for road trips. Really fun. Now, the conundrum I am in is that all along Utah, from where I am and where I started to pretty much the border here in St. George, is 80 mile per hour speed limit. And what that really means is that you can easily go 90, 95 and no one's going to get mad at you. And actually, if you go slower, people, they might actually get mad at you. But the issue is with Tesla Vision in this new updates, which my car still has radar because it's a little older, it's a 2019. But when you switch over to the Autopilot Beta, it only uses Tesla Vision, which means I'm limited to 80 miles per hour for Autopilot. Now, I don't know. We'll see if I cheat. So far, I've been pretty good, but I think I'm going to have to cheat just so I can shed some time, because if I can go 90, that's going to save a lot of time. We are at 85% state of charge. That is absolutely plenty. Got that in there. Let's get going. Decided to make a quick pit stop here in Zion National Park. Looks real good. right, we made it to St. George, Utah, with plenty of charge to make it to Mesquite, but figured might as well keep supercharging just a little bit. Let's see, 50 minutes remaining to get here, but let's put our final destination, which is Fresno, California. Probably gonna have to charge in Mesquite if I don't want to stay here for too long. Let's see what it does. So I'm in St. George now. It does say to go to Mesquite for about 25 minutes. Yeah, so I'm just topping off here, and then Mesquite is at 250 kilowatt. That's gonna be faster than St. George. It's only 150 kilowatts, and last time I charged here, it was very slow. Now, while I'm waiting for this quick charge, let's talk about some supercharging philosophy, because there are certain things that you should do to get the best charge and certain things you definitely shouldn't do. If you are at an older supercharger, which is not V3, then you need to pay attention where you park. Now, it's empty right now, so it doesn't really matter. But the key thing is you don't want to park directly next to someone, because what they don't really tell you is that these chargers share stalls, and that means when someone parks next to each other, they have to split the power between both, which means you're going to get slower charging. And there's one way to know that. So here you can see this stall is 1A, and then I am parked in 1B. And if we go over here, you can see that one is 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B, and so on. So these are sharing power. So if someone were to park right here where I am standing, then my supercharging speed would drastically get cut because it's sharing the power. So yeah, as you can see, I'm getting 130 kilowatts, which is around 500 miles per hour charge, you know, fluctuating there. Theoretically, it would go up to the top, but there is also the charging curve, but I will talk about that at our next supercharger stop. We made it to Arizona. We'll be here for like 5 minutes before we get into Nevada. Just like that, we have made it to California. We're at the Baker Supercharger. Getting all those desert vibes. This is a huge supercharger installation. I mean, I think there's over 40 of them. So plenty of open stalls. I decided to just kind of hightail it over here, trying to save as much time as possible. Here we are ramping up. It's pretty low, so should be getting optimal speeds. Close enough. 130. This is only a 150 kilowatt installation, so not too bad, but I'm probably going to do a pretty deep charge here because I want to make it all the way to Mojave, which theoretically would be my last stop, but I'll probably end up doing a few different stops before that. But after this stop, I'm just going straight there, so I'll see you when I get there. Finally made it on this first leg, made it to Fresno, California from Salt Lake City, Utah. That was a very long drive, a lot longer than it was supposed to be. Towards the end there was some very dense fog, but I made it. So the big question in this first leg, how did full self-driving do? It did pretty good. I really only had 5 disengagements where I really had to take over because something was going wrong. Every other time I took over was because I was going into like a supercharging stall or a parking lot or something like that. It did surprisingly well. I'm impressed. Now we're gonna have to go for the rest of the trip, although that's gonna be in a little while for me, but for you, that's gonna be right. Boom. Just like that, it has now been 2 weeks and we are continuing on our trip. This is Thanksgiving week. A little bit of a change of plans though, but we'll talk about that once Alexa and I get in the car, she did actually make it. Everything is good there. And as you can see in the background, my parents actually got a Model Y as well. Pretty much went with the same spec I have. So blue, white interior, dual motor, although they did do the performance wheels, which look great. Love this car so far, making it really tempting for the next car that we are going to be getting. But I did a full video on this, so if you want to check that out, subscribe to the channel. Should already be out by the time you're watching this, but if not, stay tuned. All right, we are in the car. Say hello to Alexa. All right, this is the updated plan. So originally we were gonna go from here in Fresno to Sacramento for Thanksgiving, and then the day after, go all the way back to Salt Lake City. We're still doing that, but we're doing a little bit of a detour. Instead, we're gonna go from here in Fresno to the Bay Area. We're gonna go to Palo Alto. My map is being a little slow, but we're gonna go in this area for tonight. Then tomorrow we'll head up to Sacramento. So yeah, that's what we're doing now. It is dark outside, so it's not going to be too exciting of this portion, but we'll record the Supercharger stops. I think we just have one that we need to do because I wasn't able to charge as much as I would have liked to make it the whole way, but we'll probably stop here in Gilroy, and that should be good. So this hopefully will be a quick little leg. To the Hollister Supercharging station. We've been charging for a little bit. Still have really good charging speeds. I'll tell you about this tomorrow, what you need to know, but you can pretty much make it. I'm just gonna charge a little bit more because I won't be able to charge overnight. So the more I can get, the better. But we are almost there. About an hour left to go. This is a really easy drive that Alexa and I have made many times because we used to live here and my parents live in Fresno, so we made this drive countless times. So I can do it in my sleep practically. All right, that is enough charge to easily get us where we are going. So it's the next day, as you can tell, but we did make it here to Alexa's family's house for the night. What I didn't know is that they got a Tesla charger installed. So we didn't need to charge really at all last night. But yeah, this is the first time I've actually used one of these, and it is pretty nice. It's making a good argument to want one of these instead of just a regular plug. Super fast, very, well, let's just say it worked. But here's the plan. We are now in Palo Alto, California, and we're gonna go probably do a little bit of sightseeing just to some of our old stomping grounds because we did used to live here, so we'll go check out all the places. But from here, we're gonna go to Woodland, California, which is in the outskirts of Sacramento. That's actually where I was born. Have Thanksgiving there. It's Thanksgiving today. And then we'll continue the trip from there. But so far, Autopilot, everything is doing excellent. Actually, when we get in the car in a second, I'm gonna talk about Autopilot here in Palo Alto because it's not really fair. Of course it does it perfectly. It's about even as fast as I would have done. We've been laughing because we're here in Palo Alto driving around with full self-driving, and it is almost perfect. Like, it's clear that Tesla's headquarters is here, or at least it was here. I don't know if they moved yet, but they're down the street, and you can tell that there's been a lot of employees testing full self-driving in this area because the car drives almost perfectly. It's like,
yeah, it's very good. It doesn't hesitate.
It doesn't hesitate. It like turns and knows exactly which lane it needs to be in and everything. It's just so funny. It's like half the videos I've watched are like in San Francisco and stuff like that. I'm like, it makes sense when you're in California and this is where everything is developed that it's going to work really well here, and it does. Take it back to Utah and it's not nearly as good. And so that's interesting. I wonder if it's doing a lot of navigation based predictions, or if it's really just that it's been doing it so much here that all the same streets and everything have been done. All right, so now let's head to Woodland, California, and should be a very short drive. Originally, I was wanted to go through San Francisco, so let's see if it wants to do that. Looks like there's some traffic here in Dixon, but 2 hours, yep, that sounds about right, so let's go. Oh. I didn't mean to click that off. Another day, another leg of the trip. Had a great Thanksgiving here in Woodland. We are about halfway charged. We only have a 120 volt outlet here, but should be enough. There's plenty of superchargers along the way. We are now headed to South Lake Tahoe. This charger is very slow, so what we're gonna do is just top off a little bit more here in Woodland, and then if we look at the other superchargers, we do need to be full before we get to about this point in Roseville, because there's nothing until we get to Truckee, and that is good. This one has a little bit of a wait right now, but by the time we get there, hopefully there isn't, because this is a 250 kilowatt hour, and we can top off there as high as we can get and then make our way all the way to Truckee. That should be perfectly fine. And then our final destination will be here in South Lake Tahoe. I'm not sure if our hotel has a charger, but we'll find out. If not, there is a supercharger there. Just unplugged. Let's go. Hey, if we stay below 60 miles an hour, we theoretically can make it, but charge here, so let's do it. Beautiful. That's what I like to see. Obviously, we're a little high in the pack, so it's not going to go to the full 250 kilowatts, but this is more like it, which is why we drove here. And speaking of that, I also mentioned I would talk about this later, the charging curve. That's another philosophy that you need to keep in mind when supercharging. So when you hear a supercharger is 150 kilowatts, 250 kilowatts, V3, V2, you would expect that you would get that full speed all the time, which is how they get those really fast speeds. But that's not how it works. When you're DC charging, that's not great for the battery. So they need to ramp up and ramp down that charging speed depending on the level of the battery, better for the health of the battery. And basically what that means is you're not getting that full speed all the time. So there's a philosophy here of what is the best way to supercharge, especially on a trip like this. So one way that we're doing right now is kind of hopping superchargers, because the best way to charge to get the fastest speed is when you're lower down in the pack, because it's empty, so it can just ramp up, put in all that juice it can, and then once it gets a little higher, it'll slow down. So what you can do, and what we're doing today as we make our way to Lake Tahoe, is instead of sitting at a supercharger for an hour and waiting for it to fill up because it's super slow because I'm already in the higher speeds, instead we're hopping to different superchargers when we're lower down in the pack. So we started in Woodland, we got to that supercharger around 43%, charged up a bit, then we zoomed over here to, where are we? Loomis, which is a V3 supercharger, so I knew if we were lower in the pack, it would charge faster. So we got here with around 40%, and now we are already at 60%, and we have only been here for a few minutes. And then for this particular case, we're going to charge all the way up because there's not many chargers on the way up. But if there were other chargers that you could easily get to, then I could unplug now, zoom over to that one, and just hop to each one. Yes, I'm not getting a full or a big charge at every single one, but it ends up either being the same amount of time or being faster, at least in my experience. And different philosophies. There's no real wrong way to do it. I mean, really, what really matters is that you get the charge that you need, but just pay attention to what the car is doing. And I like this kind of stuff, so it's interesting to me. So as you can see, we're at 66%. This is a V3 Supercharger, but it's only at 97 kilowatts. We're not getting that 250 kilowatts. That's just how it is. Quick Starbucks run, and we are good to go. Got my beautiful water. What'd you get?
Green tea with cold foam.
There you go. I really don't like Starbucks, so I just got a water. But the car is like at 92%, and we are good to go. We have made it to Lake Tahoe. Give it a little top off. Not too many chargers here, but more than enough, and it is empty. And just like that, quick bathroom break. We are ready to go, all charged up. Let's go ahead and unplug. Now those are some gas prices. Holy Toledo. We are not wearing the best shoes for this. Boots? Nah, not a good idea. And my shoes have no... Cold?
Very. Can't feel my hands. Good morning. The last day of the trip. We were making it home today. Wanted to start a little earlier, but it's 9:45, but that's all right. We stayed here at the Station Inn in Lake Tahoe, South Lake Tahoe. Highly recommend. That was good. We are at 48%. So the question is, do we charge here at State Line? There's superchargers here. Only problem is it's 37 degrees outside. I did preheat the car, but there's still a chance that the charging curve is going to be relatively slow. So I don't think we're going to go there. We have 48%. That should be plenty to make it all the way to Reno, Nevada, which is right here. It's about an hour away, and they have a 250 kilowatt, and by the time we get there, it'll be perfect. Plus, a lot of that is downhill. So I think that's going to be the way to go. And even when I put it in the car, Salt Lake City, that's kind of what it says. So today, the trip, starts. First charge is in Reno, Nevada, and then we just make our way across Nevada, and we should be home. All right, came here specifically because it's 250 kilowatt. Oh, beautiful. Those are the speeds I want to be seeing. Dang, this is actually, I've never seen 250 actual kilowatts. This is the fastest I've ever seen it in my car, at least. Beautiful. That's exactly what I wanted. And like I mentioned earlier, there's someone parked next to me. So you don't have to worry about sharing stalls with anyone when it comes to V3. Look at that, already at 20%, 21. This is, love it. Plan worked out.
First supercharging of the day here in Reno, Nevada, downtown. Got to do a pretty deep charge, so we're exploring the beautiful city of Reno. Trying to go to a casino, walk around or something. I don't know if you can tell, but I don't really like Reno that much. Every time I've been here, it's not my favorite place. See our car way over there, charging away. Forgot my glasses in the car, so I gotta be sunglasses only. What's our winnings? Or should I say losings? Just like that, we lost how much? $6? $6. All right, let's go. 90% more than enough. Perfect stop. That was about as good of a stop as you can have. Super fast charging, and we had a casino to play with, so we can easily lose money. So, it says we'll get to Winnemucca. I think that's how you'd say that. With 20%. There's a charger here in the middle, which if we need to, we can stop at, but I think we'll be okay. The prediction has been pretty good this trip. So, yeah, off to Winnemucca. Autopilot engaged. Doing, car?
Because that car with the trees slow.
Does not know what the heck they're doing. Alright, that was a little hectic, but hey, you did it. Driving along, we're in Clark, Nevada, and if we go that way, if we would have taken this exit that we're passing right now, we would get to the Tesla Gigafactory. Where they make all the batteries. They're apparently testing semis. They got the mega charger over there. I thought about driving by, just, I don't know, you see what you can see, but it's too far to go out of the way for really no reason, but hey. Welcome to Winnemucca. Let's see where we're gonna be. Pretty low state of charge, so it should. I don't know what's taking so long to start charging. There we go. Just clicked on, and let's see it ramp up. Well, yeah, it's gonna ramp up. There we go. Beautiful. I mean, we should theoretically, this is 250 kilowatts, should be able to get up to over 700 is my guess. Let's see. 500, boom, blowing. Oh, come on. All right, so I ended up moving the car. You can hear the fans ripping on both the charger and the car because these are the V3 stations. This is a little bit of older installation, it seems. So they started with V2 and then now they have V3. So move the car. If you're ever in Winnemucca, I keep forgetting the name of this town, but don't use those ones if you're in a hurry because those are V2. Use these four. These are all V3. I just looked it up. That is another thing to keep in mind with all of these stops is that sometimes there's a supercharger that was there and then they retrofit them with newer chargers which are V3. So on the map it'll say they're V3, but there's only certain actual stalls that are V3. So just keep that in mind. Found these and now we are ripping along getting that charge. I got this Cybertruck sticker. That's pretty funny. As for the next stop, the car originally said we should stop here in Elko, which I think we're still going to do, but now it says we can just go straight to Wells, which it's preparing this charge for. That's another 250 kilowatt station, but I think we're still going to go just to Elko here because they have some places to eat, and I think we'll just do a deep charge there while we eat. It's 150 kilowatts, so it shouldn't really matter too much, but I think that's the plan. We'll see. Okay, so while we wait for this charging session to finish up, I wanted to give a little update on how the self-driving is doing. Now, I didn't mention this earlier, but ever since we started this section of the road trip, I did get the update to 10.5. The 10.5 beta is now running on this car, and that has fixed a lot of the issues. So since we left Fresno, I've been running 10.5, and it's a lot. I mentioned in Palo Alto how much better it was. I still think it being in Palo Alto was better than general, but the 10.5 software fixed a lot of things. So since we have been driving, I haven't really had to do much. The only time is typically when, you know, you come into the supercharger stalls, that kind of thing, you have to obviously take over, or if I'm maneuvering in a parking lot, but other than that, it handles it pretty well. There have been a few sections where it's a little iffy, but I've been just kind of letting it go, and it's figuring it out pretty well. The most impressive though was in Lake Tahoe when we went to Emerald Bay and then started coming down to South Lake Tahoe. There's a lot of really sharp hairpin turns with a decent amount of traffic, and it handled it really well. So I mean, 10.5 is definitely better than 10.4 in my experience, and hopefully that just continues to be better. Now, that being said, for the rest of this road trip, at least until we get to Salt Lake City and then make our way down to our little town where we live, I'm not sure if I'm going to be using Autopilot. I know I'm supposed to use Autopilot, but kind of, if you remember back to the beginning of the video when we came down from Utah, Nevada is very boring, it's very open, very straight, and the speed limits are 80 miles an hour, and the Autopilot vision system is still limited to 80 miles an hour. So that means I'm going really slow compared to traffic, and I could shave off a lot of time if I don't use Autopilot. So I don't know, we'll see. I'll probably go back and forth just depending on where we are in the trip, but may not be using Navigate on Autopilot all that much. Either way though, system's performing well, and it's making this very long drive pretty easy. Whoa, I'm letting it go, but that was a little rough. Probably would have taken over normal, but it's got it, it's got it, it's got it. And with that, we have made it to Elko. So I think we're gonna supercharger hop. We are charging up here, get into 25%. All throughout here, I went very fast. I won't say how fast, but very fast. Although I was going the speed of traffic, everyone was going fast. So made it here with less charge than the car was expecting. But it wants me to get a deep charge here and make it all to West Wendover, which is the border of Utah. But this is a 150 kilowatt hour charger, and we're still holding pretty good speeds here. I mean, we're almost maxing out at 150 kilowatts, so I mean, that's pretty good. But I'd rather just hop to the Wells, Nevada supercharger, which is a 250 kilowatt, and then do a deep charge there, and hopefully that won't take quite as long. So that's the initial plan. We're making our way. I mean, if you see through Nevada, we have made quite a good ways to go, though it's gonna get dark here pretty soon. We're gonna go find a bathroom over there, but yeah, the trip is going. That was a super fast leg, and now we are in Wells, Nevada. Now this is going to be a pretty long stop because it wants us to go all the way home on this single charge. Let's see, where are we going? Okay, there we go. That's oriented correctly, so we should be able to make it all the way to Salt Lake. There is a charger here in West Wendover, which is the border of Utah, Nevada, and maybe we'll stop there, but I don't think so. I think I can stop in Tooele, which is about right here, and just top off that way. I can go faster and not have to worry about it, but we are almost there. I did have to take over for the first time today though, which is kind of crazy to think about. We've been driving pretty much all day since 9:15 this morning. I've only had to take over once for a time when the car was doing something it wasn't supposed to. Again, I keep saying this, but obviously when I come into these parking lots and go different places like this where FSD just doesn't really work. Obviously, I'm driving myself, but in terms of the task of the car driving myself, it's only messed up where, well, let me say this, it's messed up a lot, but I've only taken over because of that mess up once, which you just saw on video. I actually got on video, it's kind of crazy. But I don't know, I'm impressed. Just had a beautiful Subway sandwich meal.
It was actually pretty good.
Pretty good. Actually, our first meal of the day. We had some snacks, but that was our first real meal for the day. And the best part of eating while charging is that it doesn't even feel like you had to wait for charge. We are at 95%, which obviously is a little high, but we're trying to make it all the way home without stopping again. Let's see if that's possible. Made it to Tooele with a beautiful 4%. Let's go plug in. We are so close to home on this very long trip. Ooh, it is cold. It is. Ooh, these cables get very stiff when it's this temperature. Plugged in. Beautiful. Not the full 150 kilowatts, but good enough for me. I gotta go find a restroom. If I didn't have to go to the restroom, I would not be out of the car right now. It is a nice, like 30 degrees, maybe 28. Car said 30, but it is cold. Definitely not California anymore. We've been driving with this family all the way since Lake Tahoe. Seems like they had the right idea and stayed next to the Supercharger, but had a nice bathroom break, and I think it's about time to go. Come on. What's going on here? Oh, that's not good. That is not good at all. Okay, that was weird. Never had that before, but a little hiccup, not a big deal. Let's get home.